So I'm going to be breaking down the Triple R framework. This is the only framework in the world to date that is recognized and accredited by the IPHM, which is a worldwide recognized holistic body, literally proving that you can master your ADHD mind, you can get out of your own head, be more consistent, be more productive, being able to excel in your business, but being able to relax at home and just completely switch off and sleep like a baby too. So I'm going to break it down step by step. The first thing that we need to understand before we can even discuss the Triple R framework and go through that process is the insights and audit phase. You cannot fix problems that you are not aware of, and you cannot fix problems that you do not accept. So it's very important that we understand those two fundamentals. So in the awareness and acceptance phase, what we simply do is we just identify the root cause of what's going on. We get you through an assessment called the ASRS assessment, and we uncover the truths and the genuine root cause that you have. And that's not always the problem that you see as well. Once you've done that, then we start to prime your subconscious mind. I want you to kind of imagine this priming thing as a warm-up before a workout. Imagine when you go to do a workout and you're sitting there and you are pumped. But if you do an extensive, extreme, very, very big workout, you're just going to pull a muscle if you haven't warmed up properly before. So this is essentially what we're doing with the mind. We are warming up the mind to receive new information and to rewire itself. Because if you don't do that, then simply put, your mind is just going to resist every single new piece of information that you give it. Once you've done that, then we move on to the release phase. In the release phase now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do three things. The first one is we are going to identify and remove the lifelong patterns, the deep-rooted traumas, the ADHD blockers that are keeping you stuck in your head today. Because the reality is this: you cannot move forward in your business, in your life, with your family, if you are stuck to your past. And we all have a past. Some of us have past traumas and we don't even know it. Some of us have patterns that happened when we were 4 or 5 years old in school, and we listen to one comment about us, and suddenly we are literally stuck in our own heads, and it creates the identity that now we are trapped with today. So we need to identify all the patterns, like I said, traumas and blockers keep you stuck. Once you've done that, you've now cleared the clouds, and only then you can then see the sun. Once we can now see the sun, we get crystal clear on what is it that you truly want in life and why. I mean, you can only do this as a second step because, like I said, when you've got the brain fog with all your past traumas and all the things that are holding you back, it's very, very hard to actually see clearly what you actually want in life that will make you happy, fulfilled. In other words, what were you born to do? Your meaning, your purpose in life, that kind of stuff. And now once we get crystal clear on what you want in life and why you want that specifically, then we just create a personalized, structured plan that works with your ADHD brain and not against it. So I really want you to understand something about the ADHD mind. If we feel misunderstood and we are fighting our minds, we will lose every single time. Our brains need us to work with them in order to get a clear result. And that's exactly what we do. Once we've gone through the release phase, then we go on to step number 2. This is the realign the present phase. Then to realign the present phase, we actually install something called the 432 ADHD operating system. It's a completely exclusive system just for the Mind Your ADHD Academy. So it's a very simple. I studied this for many, many years. I was trying to figure out the answers, and I managed to find it over years and years and years of trial and error and struggles. And what I found was, I found a system that allows us to eliminate everything I'm about to show you in the fastest time possible, making it fail-proof and getting you the result that you want without ever worrying about falling back into your old patterns. And essentially what this 432 ADHD operating system does is it does a few things. The first one it does is it removes the brain fog. You know, you wake up in the morning or you get asked a question or you're talking to someone or there's something you need to do at work and your brain is just completely foggy. You just cannot focus for the life of you. Well, this is the first one you get rid of. You get rid of that brain fog, that mental chaos that's then creating that overwhelm, that's then creating you to self-sabotage your happiness, your success, your healthy relationship with your family, which then causes you to feel stressed, anxious, exhausted. We solve all of those problems. That's the first thing we do in the realign phase with the 432 ADHD operating system. Once we do that, you can finally wake up and just feel calm, just feel at peace, present, still. Because if you don't feel relaxed and calm, how do you think you're going to show up in the world? You're not going to show up very good. In order to get the best out of yourself, you need to be calm, still, and relaxed. But once you're the best version of yourself, you're then able to give your best self to your family, to your kids, to your loved ones, to your business. You're able to see opportunities that maybe you couldn't see. Once you've done that, then we work on focus. Now you've got no more brain fog. You're more calm. Now we're like, okay, cool. Let's focus. Let's take action. Let's be consistent. Where are you heading? What are your goals? What is your intention for everything? Where do you want to see yourself? And let's start taking radical action to that place. But here's the thing. If you do not learn how to take action, be focused and be consistent, and have that all in the right balance, you are simply going to do three things. You're going to burn out, you are going to lose motivation once you're burnt out, and you're going to say, it just didn't work. Or you're going to procrastinate from the very beginning and say, I don't know where to start. I know what I need to do, just don't know where to start. Does that sound familiar? The third thing we're going to do is we are going to build you a fail-proof system to stay organized, disciplined, and give yourself clarity and structure in your life. In other words, ADHD, we thrive on structure, right? Simple as that. ADHD brains thrive on structure. When you have clarity, structure, and you are organized and disciplined, with the ADHD mind, you get people like Richard Branson, Gary Vaynerchuk, will.i.am, Channing Tatum, Simone Biles. You get all of these people because they understand how to use ADHD as a strength, how to get clear structure in their life. And that's exactly what we do in the third part of the realign phase when you are plugged into the 432 ADHD operating system. The next thing that we do is we rewire your circadian rhythm. How many times do you just wake up and you just cannot get up for the life of you? You are always tired. You are always yawning. You feel your body always at maybe 50, 60% at the very best, and you just don't know why or what to do about it. You feel very trapped in your mind. Well, this is very common for the ADHD mind. And here's the worst part. When you go to sleep, you can't sleep. Your brain's racing with thoughts. You're struggling to sleep. And even when you do sleep, you wake up to turn left, to turn right. You're moving your pillow around. You just can't stay still and sleep. Well, it's because your circadian rhythm is completely out of alignment. So we help you to wake up with ease and fall asleep in minutes. The next thing that we do in the realign the present phase is reclaim your self-worth. Now, this is what I call the cycle of doom, because this is what people don't realize. Self-worth comes from the release part of the framework that we deal with, because we solve the trauma, which slowly builds up your self-worth. But once you start to take focus, take action, and be more consistent, then all of a sudden your self-worth goes up. When your self-worth goes up, your confidence goes up. When your confidence goes up, that inner voice inside of you starts to talk, and you start to feel happy internally. You start to release dopamine within yourself instead of having to chase it through smoking, drinking, gambling, alcohol, women, men, chasing, holidays, impulse buying. You don't have to do any of that anymore because now you feel happy internally. And when you do that, you finally find your identity. And when you find your identity, you stop becoming a people pleaser. One of the most common things I see with people with ADHD is they are big people pleasers. So we solve that problem instantly. And then once we've now solved that problem, the cycle of doom, as I said, then we can now focus on your negative thoughts. In other words, when you wake up in the morning, it's very common for the ADHD mind to have more negative thoughts than positive ones. And you could be your best friend. You are the one that can take you to cloud nine in life. You are also the same person that can kick you when you're down. And we know that. I know that. I'm clinically diagnosed with the highest level of ADHD. Believe you me, I've lived this struggle. But the problem is that when you have negative thoughts, slowly, you start to develop the feeling of you being a failure, not being good enough, being rejected by people. And that's where like the RSD part comes in, the rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It kind of comes from this angle too. So we solve that problem. We make you subconsciously reprogram your mind so you don't have to rely on effort, willpower, motivation, or anything like that. And we teach you how to have more positive thoughts than negative thoughts. So you stop feeling like a failure, stop feeling like you're not good enough, and stop feeling like you're rejected. Once you do that, there's what I call the Trinity. The triangle, you've got the time, energy, and money. And here's the interesting thing. With ADHD minds, we are either very low on energy, we've hardly got any time, we're always busy, or we have no money in the bank. And this is just the ugly truth. So we're going to teach you how to manage that. We're going to teach you how to make sure you're making more money by taking up opportunities that you wouldn't have even seen before. And at the same time, we want to make sure you have enough energy to enjoy that money and enough time to enjoy that money and enjoy your life. Because essentially, if you're making loads of money and you're constantly working, you've got no time for your family. You're working for your family, but you've got no time to enjoy that money with them. If you have a ton load of energy but no money, you can't do nothing. So essentially, these need to be all balanced. And we help you to create a sustainable plan that is fail-proof using the 432 ADHD operating system. The next thing that we do is help you to find your purpose in life. And this is why this is the last step, because you can't do that until you've got rid of all the problems and you've solved everything else. Why are we born? I always used to ask myself this question: why am I alive? What's my meaning on earth? Like, what's the reason why I'm here? You know what I mean? And it came very clear to me that everyone has a purpose. We are all born here for some way or another. And if you don't find your purpose in life and actually find that internal motivation as to what drives you, you're always going to be unfulfilled. So we need to fix that. Find your purpose in life, and simply put, we build a business around it and we grow you. And if you're already living your purpose in life, then you're already leaps and bounds ahead of most people. Now, once we've done the realign phase, then we move you to the redesign phase. This is the third part of the Triple R framework. And in the redesign phase, we build you a 3-month to 10-year roadmap of your life. We make sure that you know today where you're going to see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. You get the point. We make sure that no matter what happens, you are your best self for the next 10 years. And when you get to 10 years, it's going to be the rest of your life. And we make sure we also have confirmed with absolute certainty that any single challenge that you came to the program with have now been dealt with. You no longer have to worry about them, that you are no longer struggling. We also make sure that your future goals align with the reason why. Do you remember I told you in the release phase that we want to get a clear plan of what you want and why? We want to make sure that your future goals are still in alignment with your reason why it's important to you. For example, someone might want to build a big business, but it might not be to make loads of money. That might just be a byproduct of building a big business, but maybe the real reason why is so that they can give to charity, so that they can help the poor. It might be that they can have more freedom with their kids and their loved ones. So the reason why is very important, because that's going to be the foundation that grounds you to your long-term goal. And then we celebrate you, because one of the things with ADHD, we don't celebrate each other enough. We celebrate you. We plug you into a community of people just like you, and we help you to literally thrive and just immerse yourself and feel seen and heard and understood, which is quite foreign to a lot of people with ADHD. Once we do all of that, then you will be a version of yourself that, genuinely speaking, you've never been able to experience before. A version of yourself that makes your heart feel warm every single day, makes you appreciate having ADHD every single day. These are words a few years ago I never thought I'd ever say. But that's all good and well. I've explained the process. That's the whole Triple R framework with the 432 ADHD operating system already plugged in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to break down the way that we support you through the process. So essentially, there's a few things that you're going to need to get you from A to B. From where you are today to where you want to be, the bridge, the gap, this is what you need. Over the next 3 months, your first thing you're going to need is a roadmap strategy call. That's where we look at where you are today, where you want to be. We then look at what's holding you back, and we build you a roadmap to help you to get to where you want to be. Very essential, because if you don't have clear direction, it's like jumping in an Uber or a taxi and saying, hey, take me to my destination. And they're like, where do you want to go? And you're like, I don't know, just take me. You're never going to get to your destination. The second thing that you're going to need is on-the-go support. This is a huge critical thing. And this is why therapy and other types of counseling or CBT don't work. It's simply because one-to-one sessions once a week on their own are not useful in any way, because with the ADHD mind, you can have the best session with your therapist there and then, but all it takes is the next day, something triggers you, and you haven't had enough time to create a permanent pattern in your mind, and then all of a sudden you get triggered and you're back to square one. And that's the ugly reality. And this is why people that join the academy, some of them have tried therapy, CBT, counseling for literally 20, 30 years, and I've seen no results. Coming to the academy, and within 2 weeks, they've solved every single problem that they went to therapy for 30 years to solve. So we deal with that. So whether it's a Monday afternoon or a Friday morning, if you have a question, if you are triggered, you can have someone that you can message literally on tap whenever you need and get advice there and then. The next thing that you're going to need is fortnightly one-to-one sessions. Like I said, they're not good on their own, but they play a part in the package of what you need. The one-to-one sessions are simply just to measure your progress. Make sure that you're on track, you're not steering off the road, and you know exactly where you're going. Because sometimes when your mindset grows, maybe your plans change, and then we need to realign. And we will be there to help you to do that every step of the way. The next thing that you're going to need is to feel like you're not alone. So we're going to plug you into a monthly group coaching session where you're going to be able to ask questions. We go over deep topics, like one of the most recent ones were how to get into shape and get into your fittest version of yourself with ADHD, because most people are inconsistent, right? How to find your meaning in life, how to rewire your subconscious mind in 21 days, how to find purpose in life. These are just a handful of things that we've gone through within the monthly group coaching sessions. And by the way, anything that we've done, you get to watch on demand as well, because everything's recorded. So you'll have access to a monthly group coaching session. You'll be sitting in a group of, or surrounded by people, let's just say, and you will know that you're not alone. And that's the main thing, knowing that you're not alone. We grew up just feeling unseen for way too many years. And we go to school, we go to college, we do this, we do that, and we live in a neurotypical world. And it's it's crucifying for most of us, you know. So even for me personally, I was very depressed for most of my life, and I don't mind saying that to be vulnerable. But the reality is that no one understood me, not even my parents understood me. So yeah, we need to definitely solve that. The next thing that you're going to need is accountability. The simple reason why you haven't been able to break free for all of the struggles that you are having day to day is simply because you have not had anyone outside of your friends and family to hold you accountable. You need someone outside of that, someone who understands ADHD, someone who's actually suffered with ADHD, someone who genuinely knows when you're steering off the road and knows how to pull you back. And if you say, hey, I've done 2 out of 3 tasks today, they know exactly how to tackle that so you don't fall back ever again. You've also got an optional but optimal private community you can plug into. This is where we have multiple channels where we celebrate each other, we support each other, we hold each other accountable, and essentially you can get your questions answered. And we've got a semi-private community where you have literally close to 40 people right now, and we don't work with more than 40 people at any given time. So it's a very personal program. You can literally ask a question and you'll be seen, heard, and get a question answered pretty much instantly. The next thing you're going to need is an online portal, because as much as we're going to support you at the front end, you do need the back end as well to work through things. You're going to need to go through the back end portal to work through the trauma, the release phase, the realign, the redesign, the 432 ADHD operating system, and everything in between. So you can do things in your own leisure, around your family, around your business. We have people that work very, very long hours. They can come home, they can sit down, have a coffee, have a tea, relax, have some dinner, then just spend some time in the online portal. There's also a Toolkit Solutions Library, which is one of its kind. And this is one that really excites me because I wish I had this when I was on my journey, but there was nothing like this. It's literally the only one of its kind. In the backend portal, there is a library. Imagine this for a second. Every single ADHD struggle that you could ever have in your entire life, everything you've ever dealt with, there is a 1 to 2 minute bite-sized clip which goes straight to the point with the only solution that has been tried and tested and to be seen as the most effective solution for that specific problem. So you click the video, whether it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you can search anxiety, procrastination, focus, and you're going to get a 1 to 2 minute video, which is, hey, this is the problem, this is the solution, do this. And you don't have to go on YouTube anymore, spending hours searching for a bunch of tips and tricks that are too generic. These are tried and tested for people that are business owners and high functioning professionals in the world. And this is essentially the framework. This is exactly what we do. This is exactly how it works. You've got the process, you've got the levels of support that you need. And I look forward to speaking to you on the discovery call.